Previously on From, Sophia turned Sarah's life into a psychological hostage. Victor unlocked another layer of trauma after revealing the man in yellow ate his mother, and Jade entered his trust the mushrooms era. Julie tried experimenting with story walking, Fatima started building a golem out of dirt, and Ethan led everybody straight to a nightmare lake that definitely should have stayed undiscovered. And now episode 5 starts exactly
Victor
where we
unlocked
left
another
off.
layer of trauma
Donna's
after
crew are
revealing
standing
the man
around
in
the
yellow
lake trying
ate
to
his
figure
mother.
out if they should even touch those drowned dolls. And honestly, this is one of those classic From moments where every option sounds terrible. Leave them in the lake? Bad idea. Pull them out? Probably worse. But curiosity always wins in this town. So they drag the dolls out of the water and Donna immediately goes full survival mode. She starts stabbing them to make sure there's no monster hiding inside like one of those smiling creatures waiting to pop out. But instead of guts or worms or nightmare fuel, the dolls are stuffed with cloth and cotton. Still creepy though, because why would somebody sink giant dolls to the bottom of a lake? And this is where Tabitha freezes. Because the second she sees them, she remembers something. Donna notices instantly and asks her what's wrong, and Tabitha says she's seen those dolls before. And this is important because it's another sign that Tabitha's memories from previous cycles are becoming clearer. The town is basically leaking memories into her head now, whether she wants it or not. Then Donna comes up with a theory that honestly makes way too much sense for this show. She thinks the dolls are scarecrows, not to keep people away from the lake, but to keep something inside the lake from coming out. And if that theory is true, then congratulations, Roger, because you basically opened the lid to nightmare soup. Meanwhile, Ethan finally accepts that this lake isn't the magical place his dad talked about. The bird died. No healing powers, no miracle. So Ethan buries the bird himself and apologizes to it because he thinks he failed it by not finding the real Lake of Tears. Honestly, one of the saddest scenes in the episode because Ethan still believes his father sent him on a mission for a reason. He's holding on to hope harder than anyone in this town. And Donna has this really sweet moment with Ethan where he tells her he feels safe when she's around, which immediately made me nervous because this show loves giving emotional scenes right before somebody gets traumatized. And now the group is trying to survive the night inside one of the settlement cabins, and this whole sequence felt completely different from the usual monster attacks. Normally when night comes in From, the creatures move slow, smile, talk, and play games with people psychologically first. But these things, these dolls were straight violence. At first they start hearing music outside the cabin. Creepy, distant music. And the second Tabitha hears it, she freezes because she recognizes it immediately. Then another memory starts bleeding through. She remembers the dolls were originally hers, not these giant nightmare versions. Smaller ones, children's dolls. And in the memory, a man took them away and threw them into the lake because they were giving him nightmares. But the important part is what happened after. Once the man died, the nightmares came back out of the lake. That line changes everything because now it sounds like the dolls were never the problem. They were containers, like they were trapping something inside them all this time. And now Donna's crew just pulled them out. That's why Tabitha suddenly realizes the talismans won't protect them. These creatures don't follow the same rules as the smiling monsters. They're older, different, maybe even from another cycle entirely. Then the cabin wall just explodes inward, and one of the dolls comes crashing through. No smiling, no whispering. No manipulation, just instant aggression. And honestly, this might be the most brutal attack sequence the show has done because the dolls move like pure rage. One of them kills one of the settlement people almost immediately before anybody can even react. Then Ellis runs outside looking for Patty and finds one of the dolls holding her face against the bonfire, literally burning her alive. That scene was insane because the creature wasn't just trying to kill her. It felt personal, like it was punishing her. Ellis smashing it with the bat was one of the few moments somebody actually fought back successfully in this episode. Meanwhile, Donna gets grabbed by the throat by another scarecrow, and for a second, it genuinely looked like she was done, especially after all the death flags she's been getting recently. But then Tabitha remembers something. Not learns, remembers. She grabs a wooden totem and stabs the doll with it, instantly killing it. And that moment is huge because it confirms her past life memories aren't just random visions anymore. They contain actual survival knowledge. Tabitha already knew how to kill these things before she consciously remembered it, which means somewhere in another cycle she already fought them before. And if Jade is remembering the truth about the town, then Tabitha is remembering how previous people survived it. Now, over at the sheriff's office, the mushrooms finally clocked in for work because Jade starts bugging out. He's looking through the window and suddenly spiders start crawling everywhere. And when Boyd sees what's happening, he sits Jade down and creates a safe word in case things go too far. The safe word is Capricorn, which is hilarious because imagine being trapped in a cosmic horror town and your emergency word is a zodiac sign, and then Jade hits us with, "Let's go get weird." Brother? It was already weird. So Boyd takes him outside hoping the fresh air helps, but instead Jade starts hearing violin music coming from the forest. And when he follows it, he finds a younger version of himself, around 12 years old, sitting there playing violin for his grandmother. Now this scene explains a lot about Jade, because underneath all the sarcasm and arrogance, there's clearly unresolved trauma there. And you can tell this isn't the memory Jade wanted. This is the kind of memory he buried deep. Then the creepy one-eyed guy appears again saying, "And cooey," while holding a skull full of blood and trying to get Jade to drink it. And Boyd keeps telling him it's not real. Meanwhile, young Jade is screaming the opposite, telling him not to drink it, but Jade drinks it anyway because this man has never ignored a bad idea in his life. And immediately the blood turns into spiders crawling inside the skull. Then the younger Jade starts speaking French and tells him something huge. "You don't get to choose your memories." That line right there might explain the entire reincarnation cycle in From. The town decides what you remember and when you remember it. Then the kid leads Jade deeper into the visions, and suddenly Jade sees Christopher, the Civil War soldier, the one-eyed man, and the guy crushed by the boulder all playing instruments together. And here's the craziest part. Jade realizes none of these versions of him were killed by the monsters. They were killed by people. The wounds are completely different. No ripped open chest, no monster claw marks. Every version of Jade from the previous cycles was murdered by the townspeople themselves. And then the younger Jade basically confirms it. He calls them minnows in a shark's net, vulnerable people trapped inside a system designed to manipulate them until they destroy each other. The minnows are the townsfolk. The shark is whatever force controls this place. And suddenly the pattern becomes horrifyingly clear. Every cycle the children call to Jade, the town discovers who he really is. Then eventually, everybody turns on him. And honestly, Sophia has already started planting the seeds for that exact thing. She's been slowly pushing the idea that Jade and the Matthews family are connected to the town's suffering. So this doesn't just feel like paranoia anymore. It feels like the setup for a full-on civil war inside Fromville. But then the kid drops an even worse line. When Jade asks about Tabitha, the boy just says, "For Tabitha, it's worse." And the second he says that, everything clicks into place. Since Miranda is basically the previous version of Tabitha, the implication here is terrifyingly simple. Whatever happened to Miranda is probably going to happen to Tabitha too. And Victor already told us what that looked like. The man in yellow didn't just kill Miranda, he consumed her. So when the boy says, "For Tabitha, it's worse," it feels less like a warning and more like a glimpse of her future. And honestly, after Julie saw the man in yellow feeding on organs during the massacre, I don't think that detail was random at all. Tabitha might be heading toward the exact same fate as Miranda. The kid tells Jade he needs to clear the path to see the truth. Then they find this strange door underground, and behind it is basically Nightmare Central. Giant spider on the ceiling. Weird tunnels. Boyd disappearing every 5 seconds. And the entire time Boyd keeps yelling, "Capricorn? Capricorn!" like he's trying to cancel the mushroom subscription. Eventually, Jade follows the kid one final time and ends up in the sacrificial chamber where the Ankui children were killed. And before Jade can fully process it, the monsters bury him alive. And then boom. Jade snaps back to reality, still sitting in the sheriff's office the whole time, meaning everything happened inside his head. Back at town, things are somehow getting even more unhinged. Sophia's getting treatment in the clinic while Christy goes to grab a brace from the ambulance, and suddenly Marielle starts reliving the dungeon again from Season 3, and it connects directly to Julie's story walking, Marielle's visions, and the lighthouse numbers. When Julie story walked before, we saw Martin chained to the wall in that dungeon. Later, we saw Marielle chained up in almost the exact same way during her vision in the ambulance. Same screaming, same helplessness. It's basically mirroring the dungeon scene shot for shot. And then the radio starts spitting out random numbers again. One of the numbers we saw was 1,609. Now that number matters because when Tabitha visited the lighthouse, we saw years carved all over the walls. And 1609 was one of them. At first, everybody thought those numbers were maybe random dates or coordinates, but now it's starting to look like they're cycle markers, like every major massacre or reset in the town gets recorded there. And if you look at the pattern, things get really interesting. The most recent number on the lighthouse wall was 1978. We already know that's the year Victor survived the massacre as a child. Everybody else died. Then the second most recent number before that is 1931. That's a 47-year gap. Now add another 47 years to 1978, and you get 2025, which is terrifying because the current timeline of From might actually be around that year right now. meaning the town could be approaching another cycle reset, another massacre. And honestly, the show has been setting that up already. The town is becoming unstable again. People are turning against each other. Sophia is manipulating everyone. Jade learns the townspeople eventually murder him in every cycle. Tabitha is unlocking memories from past versions of herself. Even the monsters themselves are changing. Everything feels like the conditions for another collapse are slowly lining up. And what makes this theory even scarier is that Victor survived the last cycle as a kid. Ethan is the kid now. So, if history repeats itself, the show might be hinting that Ethan becomes the next Victor. Then Julie and Randall start arguing over the story walking stuff, and Sophia's just standing there smiling while everybody tears each other apart. That's literally what she wants. She said it herself. Her favorite part is watching people destroy each other. And what's scary is Sophia barely even has to do anything now. She just touches people and somehow unlocks these nightmares inside them. Then Marielle bumps into Sophia and suddenly gets thrown right back into another vision. And when Christy tries comforting her, Marielle says she heard the voices of everyone who ever died there. Not just heard them, felt them. And she thinks even death doesn't let you escape this place. That might honestly be one of the darkest reveals in the whole series, because it suggests the town traps souls too, not just bodies. Then Sophia calls her a prophet, and I think that's important because Sophia isn't just tormenting people randomly anymore. She's choosing targets, she's manipulating people who are emotionally vulnerable, and slowly pushing them into roles. Fatima's storyline keeps getting more disturbing too. The golem is getting bigger, and Kenny finally apologizes for doubting her. But then she says something terrifying. She knows one day she's going to see Smiley staring back at her through a window. Not maybe. She knows. Which means the connection between them is still alive somehow. And honestly, I think the golem isn't protection. I think she's unconsciously building a vessel for something. Then we get Henry absolutely losing it emotionally. He's drinking hard because Victor showed him the drawing of the man in yellow eating Miranda. And for the first time, you can really see how broken Henry is, realizing his wife didn't just disappear. She died horribly. He starts playing piano, getting loud, gathering the whole colony house around him, before completely crashing out and yelling for Victor to show Kenny the drawing. And this is important because Kenny finally learns the truth. The man in yellow ate Victor's mother. Not killed, ate. And Kenny already saw the yellow suit in the sheriff's station before, so now there's finally another character besides Boyd and Victor starting to connect the dots.